while, so I'm sitting here in a park thinking about all my goals and the things that I want to bring to the world, things that I can see will bring healing and peace and prosperity and thriving to the world. And I'm just tired of sitting and waiting for the right team to collaborate on this, for the right production company, for the right everything to come up and say, hey, we love what you have to say, we want to help you bring it to the world. I'm done waiting. And so this morning I got a message from LinkedIn asking me to share my expert opinion on some things, and one of them was how to deal with bad behavior in the classroom. I mean, think about it from various perspectives. If you think about it as a parent or as an educator or whoever, another person standing in line at the grocery store watching a child do what they're doing and thinking, oh, why doesn't that parent just get control of their kid? And I actually had this experience in a grocery store line one time where a man commented on another parent's parenting skills or abilities because of the behavior of their child. Think about the last time you felt angry, frustrated, jealous, like you needed to gossip or criticize or judge, or someone else doing that. I'm really tired of just all of these things crippling us as a society, crippling us as a human race. All of it has a root in fear. It's all goes clear back to our biology, trying to survive. But I'm really tired of living in a social world where instead of our amygdalas going off for fear of a lion or a tiger or a rattlesnake attacking us and hurting us, our amygdalas going off when we hear keywords that are social triggers that are outside of our comfort zones. They're not threatening. We're just uncomfortable with them, and our brain is saying attack, attack, attack. I'm really tired of people getting angry and going off the rails and yelling and all of these negative emotions. Every negative emotion and reaction you can think of can be traced back to us not being aware of our amygdalas and why our behaviors are being triggered by our emotions, which are triggered by our unconscious thoughts, which are triggered by these unconscious beliefs. And so many of them are rooted in two experiences we had very, very early in our experience. When we're children, we learn everything by observation. Yes, there are things I believe that come with us biologically or even intuitively from a spiritual standpoint, but from the time we're born into this world, we're watching everything going on around us, and we are learning from those around us how things work, what we should be like, how to respond. And from a very, very young age, because we're learning by observation, there comes in almost every person's life, it's estimated 80 to 85% of people in the world have had an experience like this, where our child's mind interprets an interaction with someone in our environment. Usually it's a primary caregiver, completely them not knowing that they're doing this, not knowing how it's going to be taken and how it's going to affect the way this child thinks and feels and behaves for the rest of their life. That there is this moment where the child interprets an interaction in a certain way, and immediately they learn something along the lines of, you're not good enough, you're rejectable, or something along those lines. And from then on, everything that happens in their life is overshadowed by fear. And every time they get in trouble, every time someone disagrees with them, every time a peer yells at them or rejects them, or anytime there's a problem, their mind automatically goes back to this incident that happened when they were 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 years old. For the vast majority of people, it happens between the ages of 3 and 8. Mine happened when I was 5. And I can tell you that even though I was 38 years old before I learned about the concept of healing the inner child, I can tell you that when I look back on my life, every single thing that I felt like I was afraid of, that held me back, that I didn't experience in life because of, had to do with the fear of rejection, the fear of failure, the fear of getting in trouble because I did something wrong. And it all roots back to the fear of not being good enough, because that was the message that I interpreted when I was 5 years old. I strongly believe, and there is research that supports, that the vast majority of our irrational beliefs, of this lack of emotional intelligence that is a huge thorn in the side of human beings, that keeps us from working together, that keeps us competing and comparing with each other and hating each other and judging and criticizing, is because we're always just afraid that we're not good enough. Because it goes right back to that 5-year-old kid that's thinking, I'm not good enough, so I better. And it's an automatic response for us to try our best to rationalize, to explain ourselves, to try to make it seem like they shouldn't reject us because, but we're really just trying to convince ourselves that we're good enough. Because the 5-year-old is running the show. The fear behind this rejection, this message, is taken with us through all relationships in our lives, and they keep us from doing things that are important. They kept me from doing things in high school that I really wanted to do. I really wanted to be on the basketball team. I really wanted to participate in musical theater. I was scared to even try out because I was afraid that I wouldn't be good enough and I'd be rejected. And that would just confirm this belief that I had accepted from the time I was 5 and from the way my peers treated me for a good portion of my life. That would just confirm everything. And once it's confirmed, it's confirmed. And there's that fear of this confirmation. So that 5-year-old's running the show. I cannot express how important it is for us, for every single person. Even if you don't think that your negative experiences in childhood were traumatic enough, all it took for me was a look, a facial expression. A facial expression sent me a message, and I interpreted it to mean something that affected me for over 30 years. It ran my decisions. It ran my hopes and dreams. It ran the entire show without my knowing it. So it's time to become aware. It's time to actually look at every single person, your own individual experience, and say, what happened when I was a child that hurt me? The earliest memory of what made me feel bad, even just made me feel bad. What happened? And then take the opportunity to heal the inner child. Go as an adult knowing what you needed as a child, knowing the interaction that was necessary for you to actually feel loved, to feel safe, to feel secure, to have everything you needed in that moment. And you go as yourself, and you start over and you relive the experience from the perspective of you as the adult, treating the child, inner child in you, the way you deserve to be treated, the way you know you needed to be treated. Have that entire conversation. And at the end, say, I love you. Because when we go through that first traumatic experience where we can remember every single detail of everything the bad that happened, whether or not that's exactly how it happened, that's how our child's memory remembers it. When you go through that experience, the ultimate thing that you need to walk away with is knowing that you are good enough and that you are lovable. And in that moment, the very two things that you walked away to begin with were, I'm not good enough and I'm not lovable. So end with that. End with your adult self genuinely telling the child who deserved to be treated with love and concern and compassion that you love them They did not deserve to be treated this way. There's no reason why they are not lovable. Okay? And then from there, I want you to consider doing a letter of reconciliation, which you can go to www.reflectinginward.org and find an example of that under healing emotional trauma or healing the child within. You will find a step-by-step process on how to write a reconciliation letter. That's not to be given to anyone. That's for you, but it's part of the process of understanding what you needed, what you didn't get, and empowering you to let go of it. To know, to say, I know you did the best you could with what you had been given. It's not your fault that all you had were these skills and techniques to give to me, and it hurt me, but I'm not going to let it hurt me anymore. Okay, so anyway, this is what we need to be talking about. This is a step-by-step process. These are the words that need to be heard by every ear, and this is the process everyone needs to go through, whether or not they think they need it. And even if they didn't need it, to have more compassion and understanding of other people who have and are going through it. And so this is just step one. This is a very, very short snippet of what you would be seeing in episodes 1 and 2 of this documentary series that I'm trying to put together, that I'm manifesting this collaborative production team for, before we can do anything else, before we can empower those in poverty, before we can help them plant their own gardens, before we can help them start their own businesses and become aware of the process for making various products and making them themselves and selling them themselves in their communities, before we can build people up. And we have to go back and help them to see where the beliefs come from that tell them they can't. And this is where people get the message that they can't, that there's no point, that only big business and government have control, is this voice saying, I can't, I can't, I can't, there's no point, I'm not good enough, they'll never, I'll always. I want you to go through the next day, just one day, and every time you tell yourself something along the lines of, I can't, there's no point, anything that's a thought that holds you back from moving forward, I want you to stop and think about it and ask yourself, where did that belief come from? Where did that thought process come from? Is it true? Because chances are it's not true. But the child within has created a whole sequence of statements to get you, to keep you within your comfort zone, to keep you afraid of proving that you really are not good enough, of proving that you're a failure. So when it happens, ask yourself, where do the beliefs come from? Where do the thoughts come from? Is there any proof that I really can't? Or have I just not tried and I'm telling myself I can't? And why not try? Why not try? I wrote an entire screenplay, lyrics to 11 songs to go with it. I wrote all of that within 2.5 weeks, and 4 days before I started, I told somebody who said to me, great ideas, great lyrics, you need to write the screenplay. My words were, I don't write screenplays. 4 days later, I started writing the screenplay, had no plans to do so. 2.5 weeks later, it and those 11 songs were done. Never say never. Always question where your beliefs and your thoughts and your words come from. And I think you'd be surprised at how much you actually can do without that child constantly in the background of your mind, holding you back, keeping you afraid, keeping you bottled up from reaching your potential. This is step one. There's so much more that needs to be done, that needs to be said. There's so much more that we can talk about, that we can collaborate on, but I could not go any longer without saying something. We need to stop and heal ourselves before we continue to point fingers and tell everyone else they need to change. Because chances are, if we're pointing fingers and saying that they're wrong, that they're bad, that they need to change something, it's that very perspective that tells me that your comfort zone is so small, so snug, You have so much fear of going outside that comfort zone of change that everybody else has to be like you in order for the world to be okay. And if that's you, you feel like you're always right, everyone else needs to change their ways, I challenge you to ask this question for yourself. What's more important? The truth and having it so that you can live according to truth, or your comfort zone, just being comfortable? Would you rather just be comfortable and know that everything going on around you is a lie, that you are lying to others, that they're lying to you, that everything is a matrix? Or would you rather know everything that's true so that you can make good, informed decisions on how you want to live your life according to and aligned with truth? How important is that truth to you? Is it important enough to go inside and heal a child that you did not destroy? That it's not your fault? And I would even venture to say it's not even the person who hurts you fault either, because they likely had no idea that they were actually hurting you. Or they didn't have the skills in order to treat you in a different way for you not to be hurt. Which means they weren't healed. They didn't know a better way. If they don't know a better way, how can they do better? So, I've gone on longer than I anticipated going on, but please, if you have questions, send them out. It's time to no longer be quiet about this. 80 to 85% of the world's dealing with it, which means if you're dealing with it, talk about it. One of the best experiences I had during my healing process was that when my heart started beating and my pupils constricted and I started breathing laboriously, when my coworker said something to me, I stopped and I thought about why I was feeling this way. What emotions were going on attached to this bodily response? Why did I feel this need to justify myself and convince her that my decision was a good decision? And I thought through the whole process, and then I went and I talked to that colleague and I said, I'm going through this process right now where I'm trying to better understand my thoughts and my beliefs and how they come out in my behaviors and in my beliefs. And yesterday when this happened, I want you to know that this was how I responded, and this is the process I went through to understand it better. And I got to the point where I said I felt like the belief that I had associated with what you said was that I was not good enough, in a sense that I could not make good decisions, that I was incapable of making a logical, reasonable decision. And she goes, oh, no, I didn't mean to make you feel that way. That's not what I'm saying. You're very capable. And I said, I know that I am. But my automatic response was to justify myself so that you could see that the reasoning, so that you would not reject me. Because I had an unconscious need to not be rejected. And so that is something that I'm dealing with, something that I am seeing, and I just wanted to share it with you, not because I'm trying to make you feel bad. I just want you to understand, if this is happening to me, it's happening to other people too, in everyday conversations and everyday interactions. And when I think it through and I talk with somebody about it, it helps me to understand myself better and to let go of that, because I can verbally say, it's not true. I know that I'm good enough. I know I make good decisions. I know I'm capable. And so it's helping me by being able to talk to you about it. And you know what? Our relationship was exponentially better. I felt like I could talk to her about anything. We had personal conversations that were meaningful. Our work relationship improved. And I know in America, at least, we're not encouraged to have any kind of personal interactions at work. You know, don't talk about these things. But you know what? If we stopped and realized that everyone's going through this to an extent and have compassion for everyone because we know they're going through something similar, even if they're not ready to talk about it, then these conversations can be had in any environment, and they'd actually improve our relationships, improve the environments, because we're no longer afraid, and our amygdala is no longer putting up this big old wall that says, always on guard, defend yourself. Oh, they're such a blah, 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 blah. Defend yourself by justifying your beliefs and thoughts about them and their behavior. All of that, the criticism, the judgment, pointing fingers, justifying yourself, it's all signs that there's an inner child that needs to be healed, and that there are unconscious, irrational beliefs about your value that need to be challenged and replaced with the truth. You are loved, you are valuable, your strengths are necessary in this world, and whether or not this turns into some big documentary series on uplifting and empowering and helping communities come together and overcome the stereotype and bias and prejudice that exists in the world by opening up our comfort zones and seeing how to engage with people differently, whether or not it turns into something huge, I wanted to just say this because it is the core, it is the foundation, and we all need to look within ourselves, reflect inward to reach higher. I love you, you're valuable. Let me know what you need if you need anything, and I hope you have a beautiful day.